Got the Bengals hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers tonight. They were 4.5-point underdog. That line has been bet up to 5.5 for the Pittsburgh Steelers after the news that Trey Hendrickson will not be playing tonight. In Major League Baseball, both series going early slate. 308 Dodgers hosting the Brewers from Chavez Ravine. Dodgers currently minus 175 on the money line. And then the night game after the Blue Jays got their first win last night over the Mariners. They will be in Seattle, taking them on. Seattle is currently a minus 120 favorite. That game gets going at 5:30. Need HVAC this month? Get 0% for 18 months on a new system. Schedule your free proposal at AndersonPHA.com. Anderson, fast and reliable.
Yeah, let's get it going on a Thursday. What's going on, everybody? Ben Fletcher, Sammy Long with you till 2 o'clock today. John and Jim will take over then. We got a 4-pack of tickets to SeaWorld to give away on the show today. We got Big Rich joining the show today.
Big Rich.
As an Ohrnberger. And it's not a coincidence that Rich is on today, by the way. Of course, we're going to talk some NFL with him. But we got some big announcements that are coming up tomorrow in the world of Big Rich, TD, and Fletch. So Rich is going to come on at 1:15 today. We're going to do some teasing. I'm just going to say this. If you missed the way things were when Big Rich, TD, and Fletch were on San Diego Sports 760, we're taking a big step tomorrow to remedy that. So if we've lost you because there's too much music going on in the morning, we understand that. If you want to come for the music, we're still playing great music. But if we've lost you, you're going to want to make your way back to Big Rich, TD, and Fletch in the mornings.
Let's call it a tease, ladies and gentlemen.
Tomorrow, 1015 KGB, 6 a.m. Things are going to get wild. All right, it is San Diego Sports 760. My name is Ben Fletcher. If you're just joining us for the first time, that stunning young man across the room is Sammy Long. We talk sports for 2 hours every single day. We're going to do that today. We got a ton of NFL action to look at today. SDFC is playing this weekend. Other than that, not a whole lot of local news coming out today. So a lot of what we do today is going to be focused on the Walker Bowl, the Icy Hot Bowl, the Bengay Bowl that's coming up later tonight on Thursday Night Football between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to take a look in depth at week 7 in the NFL, one of the tougher slates to pick of the entire NFL season. So stay tuned here. We're going to walk you through it all. But let's start with this Thursday night football game. So it's being hosted in Cincinnati. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going. Trey Hendrickson has been all but officially ruled out of this game. Jeremy Fowler tweeting earlier today that he's expected to be ruled out for this one, dealing with a hip and back injury. Sammy, I got my BS meter on this one kind of riding high. I think Trey Hendrickson is out of this game because next week or the week after, Trey Hendrickson is going to be on the move, and they don't want to risk him getting injured here over the next couple of weeks.
Right, and why would you, if you're Cincinnati, and you basically before the year, remember he wanted a long-term deal, he wasn't going to play. The only reason he is playing this year is they upped his money with kind of the understanding that he's going to leave next year. So if you're Cincy, of course you want to deal him because without Burrow, you're not going to a Super Bowl. But I kind of wonder what his trade value is because a lot of teams are going to go, I can just sign him 4 or 5 months from now.
Yeah, but there's a lot of teams that need him. Now, the one that really needs him is actually the San Francisco 49ers, who have just undergone multiple season-ending injuries on their defensive side of the football. So it's all going to be, it's like everything. If you need a quarterback, you got to pay your quarterback, right? And so if this is the marketplace of the NFL right now, there are teams that desperately need help on the defensive side. And there's going to be a market for Trey Hendrickson because he's one of the more special pass rushers in the league. And yes, he does have an injury designation right now. But again, I don't know how real that injury is. It's a back hip situation. And Trey Hendrickson could very well be on the move here in the next couple of weeks. But I do have a question about tonight's Thursday night football game. Are we making too big of a deal about the age of these quarterbacks? Rodgers is 41, 42, somewhere in there.
Rodgers 41 and Flacco's 40.
Flacco's 40. Are we making too big of a deal at the fact that there's two 40-year-old quarterbacks going head-to-head tonight? Because watch them both play this year. Look, Joe Flacco's been on bad teams. I don't think he's necessarily played bad. Aaron Rodgers is playing great so far this season. So you can turn back the clock a little bit. It feels like 40 is the new 29 to me. And watching these two guys
in the
play,
NFL,
they haven't been bad this year, Sammy.
Well, it's not that they haven't been bad, but I think we're going to see a throwback type of game because when was the last time you saw a game, especially
watch us get a 45-point shootout tonight?
And that might be the case, but when was the last time you saw a game where one of the quarterbacks was not mobile? I mean, their kind of quarterback, the Joe Flacco, they came up in the Aaron Rodgers of the, I'm a statue in the pocket, but I'm extremely accurate. I have a cannon of an arm. And it's all about quick reads. If you're a quarterback today and you can't run, like you're not getting drafted high. And the only guy that's young that doesn't really have that is Joe Burrow, but Joe Burrow can even run a little bit. He runs enough to where he keeps defenses honest. I think it's kind of a fun throwback kind of game, and that it's some of the old guard. Like, you haven't really seen a traditional pocket passer come out. Like, the last good pocket passer we have today is Matthew Stafford. That's the last guy that is a true pocket passer that is still an elite quarterback. So it's kind of fun. It's like how it used to play in the NFL. It just feels like this kind of quarterback isn't around anymore and probably won't be in the future.
Yeah, and it feels like Rodgers, who used to be a mobile quarterback, Rodgers not necessarily running down the field, but escaping the pocket. Like, some of the most iconic throws of Aaron Rodgers' career has been when he's been on the rollout. But he definitely this year is much more of a pocket passer. Now, the one thing I'll just say to defend the point of like 40 is not 40 anymore of what 40 used to be. Sammy, are you familiar with the movie known as Beverly Hills Cop?
Of course.
Eddie Murphy, Judge Grizz, what's the guy's name?
Reinhold.
Judge Reinhold.
One of the greatest films ever made.
Honestly, in my top 5 movies, maybe ever, period. But Detective Taggart in that movie, the old veteran detective who's on the case, who's kind of curmudgeonly, just giving in to Axel at times. Do you know how old the actor that played Detective Taggart, if you had to guess, how old do you think he is? The actor at the time that movie came out.
Well, he looked like 60.
Sure. I think that's a fair guess. He was 36 years old when that movie came out.
Yeah, except he's not getting hit by grown men.
I understand
every day when they're trying to rip his head off.
But like, Rich Ohrnberger is older now than Taggart was at the time Beverly Hills Cop came out, and Rich looks like he's in his 20s still. So that's what I'm trying to say, is that I don't think 40 today is necessarily what 40 was 10 years ago, even when we were talking about how impressive it was that Tom Brady's still doing it. It's just a different game now.
Yes, but in the sense of that, these guys aren't future franchise quarterbacks.
For sure. They probably each have 1 or 2 years left in the NFL, but I don't think it's as big of a deal as everyone calling it the Icy Hot Bowl. That's downright disrespectful.
I just hope we don't see any bones broken tonight.
Yeah, or Achilles snapped. Oof, rest in peace, Rodgers' right leg. All right, let's get to the big 3 here of our number 1. Sammy Long rips through the top stories in the world of sports. If you want some SeaWorld tickets, they will be given away here this hour, so don't go anywhere. But Sammy, let's get right into it. Go ahead and smash it.
Your lunch break is here. Ready to go back to the office and knock the socks off your friends? Coworkers? It's time for the top stories of the day. The Big 3.
If you would like to watch the show, we got a couple ways for you to do it. On YouTube at San Diego Sports 760, on X at Fletch and Sammy. Give us a follow, give us a subscription, drop some comments in there as well. We'd love to hear from you on a Thursday today. Sammy, where are we starting?
We're going to go back to Monday Night Football, but not what happened in the games. So Caleb Williams and the Bears upset Washington on the road. There's a lot of drama after this. So during the broadcast, if people were listening, so there were multiple games on, Troy Aikman was very critical of Caleb Williams, saying he needed to do a better job of where he was throwing the ball to his receivers to allow them to gain more yards after the catch. He was criticizing him kind of left and right through the broadcast, and kind of insinuated at the end of the game that they got lucky, and that's why they won. Caleb Williams was asked about this, kind of said people are going to talk. It is what it is. And then the drama kind of escalated. So apparently Caleb Williams did not do the pre-meeting with the Monday Night Football crew in week 1 when they were on Monday Night Football against the Vikings, or this week against the Commanders. And so do you think Aikman's criticism was fair, or do you think Aikman is a little bit of he's a little pissed off that Caleb did not give him the time of day?
So both can be true, right? Troy can feel a little put off by the fact that Caleb has been ditching these meetings, and I honestly, I don't know the exact rules on whether or not quarterbacks are required to attend these meetings.
Apparently, the Monday Night Football crew, they're not required, but they said it is, quote, very rare for a starting quarterback to not be talking with the pregame crew beforehand.
It does seem bizarre because that gives you the opportunity to kind of set the narrative of what the broadcasters are going to be saying. And Caleb can go to Troy and say, hey, look, man, this is what we've been working on. This is where I'm getting better this year. And that gives Troy some ammo during the game to kind of hype you up. And if you're going to miss that, well, Troy has to go off of what he sees. And what we've all seen from Caleb Williams since he's been a pro, and I will say it's gotten a little better this year, is his inability to read defenses. And you really hear that from former quarterbacks who all have a very consistent sound when it comes to Caleb Williams. It's that, A, he holds onto the ball for too long, and B, he gets tricked pretty easily by defenses at the NFL level. He's getting better. He absolutely is, but I'm sure that's what Troy is seeing as he's watching the game as a former NFL quarterback. Now, believe you me, I'm not the biggest Troy Aikman fan. I really am not. That broadcast group is one of my least favorite ones. However, I can see both sides of this argument, and Troy Aikman has every right to say exactly what he thinks during the broadcast because he didn't have any sort of buffering from Caleb Williams to tell him what to say during the broadcast.
The whole broadcasting was interesting because if you get in the weeds of it, like Caleb said that he was at a thing and then he called actually Aikman back and Aikman didn't answer later that night. It was a little spicy. Troy Aikman played at UCLA. Caleb Williams played at USC. So maybe there's a little bit of a rivalry there. But in terms of Caleb Williams has been inaccurate at times, and that has been the bugaboo so far in his career is he has missed some guys in receivers at times. Now, I think last year a lot of that had to deal with the fact that his offensive line was not only a bad offensive line, an historically bad offensive line with how bad that was. Now he finally has an offensive-minded head coach. You know, Ben Johnson responded to it, the head coach, talking about how, because the Monday Night Football guys were kind of saying it was lucky. I mean, they did win the turnover battle by 3, but hey, they went on the road in basically a rainstorm and won the game. So you could point to a lot of NFL games as luck or not luck. I think Troy was a little unfair with this. Like he was criticizing the DeAndre Swift touchdown. It's like, if we're going to micromanage and hyperanalyze every throw and who needs to be better, like I get it. Caleb Williams hasn't been perfect, but I don't think Monday Night Football was the night to be criticizing Caleb Williams, considering he got a road win in a tough environment. All right, let's head to still NFL story. George Pickens non-committal on his future with the Cowboys, says he likes it here, but basically kind of talked about how he wants his bag. But let's go back to the Steelers. The Steelers let him go. Was this a mistake considering how good the Steelers are to let George Pickens walk?
I really don't think so. I think Mike Tomlin has a pretty good read and feel for who's in the locker room. And once he's gotten as much out of you as possible and the diva starts to outweigh the craziness or the talent level, like Antonio Brown was ridiculously productive, was a Hall of Fame receiver when he was on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then he got to a tipping point and Mike Tomlin decided, yeah, you know what? You can go be someone else's problem now. We've gotten enough out of you. He went to the Raiders. We all know how the end of Antonio Brown's career played out. George Pickens, it was troubling what we were hearing coming out of the locker room a year ago, where it seemed like there was a problem, there was a cancer, and most of it was surrounded by George Pickens. Now, you could say you're really proud of how he's played so far this year in Dallas, and we haven't heard about that same drama. And it seems like the connection, especially once CeeDee Lamb went out between him and Dak Prescott, is really growing. And he set himself up to make a ton of money. But as soon as that contract is up in Dallas, he's going to go get paid like one of the higher paid wide receivers in the NFL. And if Jerry Jones and the Cowboys are smart, they're not going to have a bunch of money wrapped up between two wide receivers. So I think George Pickens sees that writing on the wall, and he'd be silly to say, no, I want to stay in Dallas. He's going to be able to make more money elsewhere.
And a couple things with the Steelers and Mike Tomlin, like I get not wanting to deal with him because Pickens having tantrums on the sideline, and he kind of get away with it because the quarterback play was not it. Like there was not a star at the quarterback spot. We get Aaron Rodgers in, but then, and to Aaron Rodgers' credit, he's been very locked in. You can tell. We haven't heard a lot.
How good has DK looked with this offense?
He's been fantastic. But if I'm Mike Tomlin in ownership going, do I really want George Pickens, who has been crazy at times, and Aaron Rodgers, who has been crazy at times, both on the same offense when we're trying to build something here? I get it. Dallas, it's working out for years now. It's been like CeeDee Lamb by himself. They get a number 2 wide receiver. Now, I'm curious to see what happens when CeeDee Lamb comes back because George Pickens is getting a ton of targets right now. And obviously, CeeDee Lamb, despite Pickens playing well, is a better receiver than him and will eat into some of his targets. So we'll see what happens there. But George Pickens been a nice ad for the Cowboys. If they didn't have him right now, they might be winless because that offense has been humming.
Let's get one more in here before we get to break.
Number 3, heading to the Lakers. So Lakers came out. It was about to be that LeBron was just going to miss the first couple weeks. Now he's out until mid-November.
Yeah.
Apparently they're being cautious per Shams with him. And then Carmelo Anthony said on a podcast yesterday, he does not believe the Lakers have enough shooting going into the season to be competitive. Do you think the comments are fair? And what do you make of LeBron being out? Can they sustain it with him out?
LeBron thing first. This is load management in reverse. Instead of just taking little chunks off during the season, they're just going to shorten the season for LeBron, which is probably the smart thing to do at this time. And by the way, I think Lakers fans will appreciate that because you're not showing up to a game or buying a ticket expecting LeBron to play and that he's not there. They're just telling you right off the jump, hey, he's going to be out for the first couple months of the season. We'll see after that. And I think that's the smart thing to do. Now, shooting was a problem for the Lakers a year ago. And Sammy, you're a huge fan of the Lakers. As this roster improved in that area? Because when you look at the postseason, I think it was defense and shooting that really hurt the Lakers.
Totally. I think you're right on the LeBron thing. I think you have to. And the NBA gets a lot of flack for load management, and a lot of it's fair. I get people being frustrated when they buy tickets to games, they don't see their stars. LeBron's a little different that he is 41 years old and he's still playing. So I will give LeBron some leeway there.
Just be transparent about it and everyone's going to be fine.
Right. You need him for the postseason for a run. I do think it all comes down to a couple of players. Austin Reeves has to elevate to being a number 2 star because it can't just be Luka. He has to be a facilitator and a scorer and prove some people wrong because he did not play very well in that series against Minnesota. Jaden McDaniels was all over him for the Timberwolves. I think though on the bench though, you saw Gabe Vincent have a nice preseason game last night. Jake LaRavia was a signing coming over from the Kings. The Kings tried to keep him, and the Lakers actually outbid. And Dalton Connect, after the failed trade last year, was kind of a shell of himself after being a front runner for Rookie of the Year halfway through. One of these guys has to step up and become a legit shooter off the bench because, again, it cannot just be Luka and Reeves by themselves and no one else around, especially until LeBron gets back. I think LaRavia or Connect's got to have a big season.
All right, coming up next, we are going to be giving away SeaWorld tickets this hour, so don't go anywhere. Between now and 1 o'clock, 4 SeaWorld tickets will be in one of your pockets. But coming up next, there are the return of certain quarterbacks that are proving a point I've long made about the NFL. We'll tell you what it is. Coming up next at San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app. Hey, it's Fletch for Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use promo code Fletch. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks is changing the game once again. Talking about stacks. When you can stack the same player with multiple stat projections. In fact, our buddy Tyler just sent me one. He had a lineup that was going for tonight's Thursday night football action. And in that lineup, he had Joe Flacco's less than on yards and more than on interceptions. And you can now put both those players in the same lineup and it's the same guy. The Prize Picks is the only one doing it. So if you feel confident about one player doing multiple things on the Prize Picks app, you can stack your player projections. They're the only ones doing that right now. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use promo code Fletch. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. No matter what sport you're into, basketball about to tip off the regular season. Hockey is up and going. Baseball is in the middle of the postseason. And we all know about college and professional football. Every single weekend, the action is popping off. If you want to get in on this action here in California, the best place for you to do so is on the Prize Picks app. You can make your picks in less than 60 seconds. Turn your takes into cash all season long on Prize Picks. Withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Deposits are easy. Here's the deal. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code Fletch to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Fletch for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. San Diego Sports 760. We got 13 chances for you to win $1,000. Some call that a rack. Every weekday with the bonus bucks giveaway every hour from 6 a.m. through 6 p.m. Listen for the keyword. Enter it at sportssd.com. Next chance to win $1,000 or a rack, bro. Coming up at 1 o'clock. Did I say that right?
Bank, bro.
Did I say that? Is a rack 1,000?
Yeah, like a band. You got some bands with you.
A band. That's $10 $100 bills all stacked.
It's like you're like a rapper in the the videos where they got the earmuffs with the cash.
Sure, that's me. Everyone knows it. A couple texts here before we get to the NFL. 619. Please tell me we're not losing the Dan Patrick Show. No, you are not losing the Dan Patrick Show. That will stay here on San Diego Sports 760. However, Big Rich, TD, and Fletch over on 101.5 KGB every morning from 6 to 10 is undergoing a bit of a renaissance tomorrow. So you're going to want to tune in. If you liked what we did over here on the sports station, tune in tomorrow morning over there on KGB.
Dan Patrick's the GOAT, man. He's literally Dan Patrick shaped a lot of my life. I listen to Dan Patrick on my way into work sometimes. I try to listen to his podcast most days. He's fantastic. 858. You guys ignored my fantasy football question yesterday, so now my 6-0 is in your hands, Aaron Rodgers or Trevor Lawrence. Here's what we're going to do. We ran out of time yesterday. We had a lot more texts piled up. Yeah, we didn't ignore your thing. We had a lot of texts coming.
Stan Lazinski, our fantasy expert, was in studio with us yesterday, and we got to as many as we possibly could. I'm going to text Stan right now and ask this question for you, 858, and I'll get you the answer here in a little bit. If it was me, I would say Trevor Lawrence.
I would piggyback with Fletch. I think Trevor Lawrence, because the Rams corner situation, that's the one weakness of their team. Traveling to London, I think Aaron Rodgers division game, Cincy, despite no Trey Hendrickson, will be ready for this one. And the other thing with fantasy is if, let's just say the Steelers are blowing them out, a lot of running game in the second half. So for fantasy points, that doesn't help for Aaron Rodgers. I think T-Law is your better play.
Yeah, Jags-Rams is set up to be a shootout, whereas tonight I feel like it's going to be over kind of quickly, which leads us into our next question here. This is the longest we've gone into a week where we're arguing about our Circa Survivor pick. So coming up next, we want to get into this with all of you helping us out, because if we win, we all win here. Sammy and I are going to be millionaires.
Squad ride W's.
That helps the entire show. That helps the whole program we're putting together here. So
I'm going to buy a grill.
What are our options right now? Because I think the Steelers have to be an option tonight. That feels like a solid pick.
These are the teams we cannot pick because we have already picked. We've already picked the Cardinals. We've already picked Baltimore. Baltimore's one win, by the way, which looking impressive.
Oof.
Seattle, we picked. The Broncos we picked, the Colts, and the Green Bay Packers. So all those teams have already been used. We cannot pick them again. Fletch and I will get into this next, but we've been looking at New England maybe this week on the road in Tennessee. We've been looking at the Bears at home against New Orleans. Pittsburgh is an option on the road against Cincy. Makes me a little nervous. We don't want to pick the Chiefs, Lions, or Cowboys because they play on Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Or Eagles.
Now, Eagles only play on Thanksgiving, but that looks like a real good, or they play on Black Friday, but that could be a real good game against the Bears. The strategy, this is where it gets hard,
because this week is by far the toughest week we've had so far. Because we're putting our fate in either the Patriots or the Bears, most likely. Text line, help us out, 70470. Start your message with team. Now, before we get to that, Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, Baker Mayfield, I think are proving an NFL trend wrong. All three of those guys were kind of cast off for dead in their NFL careers early on by the teams that drafted them. They were all very high draft picks. And between the Giants, the Browns, and who did Sam Darnold get drafted to? The Jets. The Jets that's where he saw ghosts. That's right. Between
First
those
pass he ever threw was pick six.
Yeah, between those three teams, they all kind of said, no, this quarterback's not going to be our future. We're going to ship him out of town. I think patience has gone the wayside in the NFL, especially with young quarterbacks. In these three guys who are all three in the MVP conversation right now, Sam Darnold, not so much, but Baker and Daniel Jones, absolutely.
I think Darnold's not too far down the list.
Yeah, he's probably in the top 10 for MVP. Maybe not. That sounds a little ridiculous, but Daniel Jones and Baker Mayfield for sure. And Sam Darnold was a year ago. All three of them are proving that patience can work in the NFL, but you got to surround these guys by good head coaches, good offensive coordinators. And then if you wait a couple years and don't just ship him out of town immediately, you can have a lot of success. How much better are the Cleveland Browns right now if they had Baker Mayfield the last 10 years?
And look at that draft. So it was Josh Rosen was the big bust, and then everyone thought Baker and Darnold were bust. Because
if Josh Rosen was still playing, he might be an MVP candidate.
Because Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson were taken at the Josh Allen was taken in the top 10, but then Lamar Jackson taken at 32, and they went to better. Like Lamar Jackson went to a good football team, and the Ravens were a good team that traded back up to get him in the first round. So it was always kind of this thought of like, yeah, you want the money being a top overall pick or a top 5 pick. But honestly, if you take a little bit of that down and you end up going to a good organization with a good head coach, it can actually help you in the long run. And that's why Darnold and Baker Mayfield, these guys were just completely cast off. And now look at them. Now they're with good organizations in the Bucs and the Seahawks, and they're having success because they have real head coaches instead of what they had before. Like it's hard to kill Darnold when the Jets have not had a good quarterback, and their best quarterback in the last 25 years is Mark Sanchez.
And two of them, at least, Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield, both sat for a while behind people, and they sat in different team systems to try to understand. Like, remember Baker had that weird year where he ended up over on the Rams and had those spot starts. Like, they've been able to kind of get ingratiated in other programs and understand how it is to be an NFL quarterback where they never had those opportunities at their first stops. And that helps. So I think the NFL is going to look at this. Coaches, owners, GMs are going to look at the success that those three guys are having. And maybe next time they have a rookie that they're ready to ship out of town, A, don't start them right away and let them wait for a little bit. And B, give them a little bit of grace. Because are the Cleveland Browns like Super Bowl contenders if they had Baker Mayfield?
They would be a legit team. And think about Bryce Young for a second. Bryce Young, what the Panthers did was trade their number 1 wide receiver they had in DJ Moore and a bunch of draft collateral to get Bryce Young. And then you draft Bryce Young and he has no one to throw to. So it's like, it's about the system in place that you can have a quarterback succeed. Like just drafting a quarterback at the top with no offensive line and no receiving core, nothing around them. Look at the Bears last year. The Bears had the great receiving core in tight ends, but they had the worst offensive line in football, and Caleb Williams looks awful in his first season. So it's really about the organization and being patient. I think that is like we cast off quarterbacks so fast because your Mahomes, your Herberts, your Lamars had success immediately. So if you don't have MVP success immediately,
all three of those guys sat for a little bit.
Yeah.
All three of them.
Yeah. Lamar sat for half
a
season.
Lamar sat for half a year.
Herbert sat for a game.
No, it was like 4 weeks, 5 weeks.
No, it was one because they punctured Tyrod Taylor's lung as the Chiefs.
I thought that was 3 or 4 weeks into the season. Was that right away?
It was week 2 because the Chiefs were playing them.
All right. Well,
but still,
all three of them weren't the starters to start.
Yeah.
Okay. It's San Diego Sports 760. Quick break here. On the other side, we need your help. 615. That's not helpful. That's just tearing us down a little bit. And we don't need that right now. Who would you pick this week in Circa Survivor? Sammy and I want to be millionaires. We need
615 thinks the Bengals are winning.
They might. All right. It's San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app.
The sport sponsored by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Pittsburgh traveling to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals on Thursday Night Football. Be the battle of the 40-plus-year-old quarterbacks between Joe Flacco and Aaron Rodgers. They're currently 5.5-point road favorites with the point total set at 44.5. And the ALCS and NLCS will both be underway today. Dodgers currently -175 on the money line to go up 3-0 in Los Angeles. And then the Mariners looking to get back after last night getting dismantled by the Toronto Blue Jays 13-4. Be the 3C's MVP this month at Valley View Casino and Hotel on October 31st. One lucky winner will score cash, and more cash, or a spin for $100,000 during the 3C's giveaway, only at San Diego's favorite casino.
Man, it's sweaty time. I tell you what, I've never had a 1 in 4,000 shot at becoming a millionaire. That's exactly what we have right now. And we're in week 7 of the NFL season. Ben Fletcher, Sammy Long with you till 2:00 today. John and Jim will take over then. Well, a couple months ago, Sammy and I were sitting in the Vegas Sportsbook at Circa Las Vegas and putting down more money than either of us have ever put down on a single bet, $500 each.
We're fantastic. It got the juices stimulating.
For sure. Actually, what did it end up being? 1,125 because we had to pay for the proxy.
Yeah, you have to pay the proxy.
So that's more money than we've ever put down.
Shout out to Megan at Circa.
Megan, you're the best. We appreciate you. But we put down all this money, not thinking that we really had, like, we knew there was an outside shot, but now it feels very, very real. Like, that's a 1 in 4,000 shot at becoming a millionaire, which is still long odds, but it's better odds than I've ever had. So we're thinking about this and we're looking at week 7. And again, if we win this thing, it's good for everybody, which is why we talk about it so much on air here. Because we're looking at the games this weekend and having a real hard time. Like, Sammy is gung-ho on the Chicago Bears, but I have to put into my brain, Sammy's also a Caleb Williams stan.
I don't go homer picks when we have this much money on the line.
For sure, but they do influence you a little bit. I'm thinking like tonight, Pittsburgh's gonna win. However, it breaks my 2 or 3 main rules I have about this Circa Survivor experience, which is no divisional games, no primetime games. I hate both of those things. I hate tonight.
Why I like the Bears is because New England's schedule is pretty easy. Like, there's some spots down the stretch here that you look at. And the Bears,
there's going to be a huge part of this pool that are in on New England this weekend against Tennessee.
The thing with the Bears is if they're able to win, and I get it, you're picking the Bears and you're a little like, I don't know, a short week, but they are at home, is you cross off a team that you didn't think you were ever going to pick. And,
sure. And I get that.
We're not picking the Bears again.
615 texts in, says, come on, boys. You don't want to break the rule of betting division games, especially taking a road team on primetime. I agree. Steelers are out. I think that the Bengals will win straight up tonight. Maybe worth a couple of sprinkles on the Bengals tonight. Take the sure thing this week in Kansas City and save Philly for Thanksgiving. They will have their S together by then.
The problem with taking the Chiefs is they play on Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Bingo. We're going to take them for one of those days, assuming the Chiefs are what we think they are, which is, once again, Super Bowl contenders. 858. This is the most interesting one I've gotten so far.
858 is getting crazy.
And I tell you what, 858, I like the logic a lot. And you've started to sway me completely in this direction. I will spend the rest of the next 3 days fighting Sammy, trying to convince him to go this way too, although I don't think it'll work because it is crazy. 858 says, you guys should pick the Browns to win at home, bad passing weather, and the Finns can't stop the run. Let's just take some things into account here. They're expecting 50 to 60 mile per hour winds and rain in Cleveland this weekend for their game against the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins are a broken team right now. Mike McDaniels, Chris Greer probably getting fired any minute now, maybe after this game. Tua Tagovailoa, 0-8 career all-time in bad weather games, playing against the Cleveland Browns, who, again, are starting Dylan Gabriel, so I don't know how good I feel about that, but do have an excellent run game and have an excellent run defense.
Can I tell you how we would be if we were watching this game if we picked the Cleveland Browns?
I'm afraid, all right? You want to hear me say it? You want to break me down? All right, I'm afraid.
That is how that would be.
That's how I'm going to be with the Bears.
Okay, but the Bears at least have, like, I get that, but the Bears are a team that has talent, as evidenced by Monday night winning against the Commanders. I understand the thinking.
The Saints aren't bad, though. That's kind of what I'm looking at. The Dolphins, I would qualify as bad right now.
Okay, but the Bears are not bad. They're a middling team. The Browns are bad. They are a bad football team, and we're counting them to beat another bad football team
No,
by the way,
no, hang on. The Browns are bad. I agree with that, but they do have a good run game. Quinshon Judkins has proven himself to be a very good running back at the NFL level, and they have a very good defense.
Devon A-Chain's on the other side.
Right, but Cleveland at least has a run defense. Miami doesn't.
Miami, though, should have beat New England 2 weeks ago. There was a kickoff and a punt return touchdown.
Not in 50-degree wind or 50-mile-per-hour winds.
Almost beat Buffalo.
Not in 50-mile-per-hour winds.
Dude, you wanting to bet $1,000 on the Browns is like, we should just give it to charity.
It sounds great. I also think the Steelers are going to win tonight, but we're not picking that game. But I do think the Browns win that game. It'll be sweaty for sure. But I mean, we were sweaty last week watching the Packers.
Okay, so let me get this straight. You would rather pick the Browns at home over Miami than the Bears at home against the New Orleans Saints.
The New Orleans Saints are going to knock somebody off. The New Orleans Saints will be the reason for a bloodletting in Circa Survivor. And this week, with Caleb Williams feeling a little high on himself, with Ben Johnson feeling a little high on himself, maybe this is the week that happens.
The Browns can't run. They can't move the ball.
The Browns can with Quinshon Judkins. It's 50-mile-per-hour winds.
Jalen Waddle's auditioning to be apparently the New York Giants are in on him and wants to trade for him or Chris Olave. Are you kidding me? You want to. Dude, that is a disaster.
This doesn't need to be personal attacks right now. This just needs to be.
It's just like I
don't
don't
about everything on the table, because when we're talking about teams that we're never going to pick again, the Cleveland Browns are a team we're never going to pick.
Right,
again.
but that feels like teams like the Raiders and the Browns and the Jets and the Saints. It's like there's a reason they've been bad for 20 years, and we're going to basically put $1,000 on them.
Sammy, do you remember week 2 of this season? We had an 858 number text in and say, you guys don't have a shot in hell to win this thing.
Yeah.
From the 858. I don't know if this is the same person. You two actually have a shot in hell. The odds aren't that bad.
858, I appreciate the sentiment, but I don't want you jinxing us.
Look, if we're millionaires, all this gets better. I promise you that. We will share the wealth after, I buy a house, but we will share this with our winners, our listeners.
619 says, Fletch, I would let Sammy pick. That way, if it's wrong, it's all on him and Caleb Williams.
That's probably what it's going to end up being, because believe it or not, I don't have Megan's phone number. Sammy has Megan's phone number, who is our proxy.
Yeah, you have no access to the pick. That's
But
why.
We split this thing half and half, and
Okay, if you don't want the Bears, then New England is a solid pick.
I think I'd rather have the Bears.
Wait, hold on. Mike Vrabel on the road is going to just, first off, the Tennessee Titans are not honoring him. They made a whole thing about how the ceremony before the game. Mike Vrabel took them to AFC Championship games.
Yeah, but we're relying on Drake May to win 5 straight games.
Okay, well, you have to take some risk.
I understand that.
You are pessimistic about every game.
I think that's healthy, don't you?
I think
I have this much on the line. We got to be pessimistic about every game. We have to think about the worst case scenarios ever. We can't just say, "Oh, this," and then go with it. No, it's not week 1 anymore, Sammy. This is week 7.
Can I tell everyone listening right now? So, Fletch, before the show, we're talking about this because this is the only thing on our minds day in and day out.
Literally.
And
it doesn't matter if a fire is in the kitchen. This is all we're thinking.
This is all we think about.
I'm not calling him Dad, Sammy. Not even if there's a fire.
Last week, Fletch is telling me about how the Browns or the Bengals are going to upset the Packers. Bengals going to upset the Packers because my father-in-law said so. And Rich Ohrnberger.
It almost happened,
but
Sammy.
It didn't. And now this guy wants to take Pittsburgh before the show on the road in Cincy at home with Joe Flacco, who Mike Tomlin
every
was kind
time
of
I said that, because I do think Pittsburgh's going to win tonight, but every time I said that, I would also say, but we're not picking in-division primetime games, especially road in-division primetime games.
858 says Tua is weird. He might go for 130 passer rating after his weird pressers. Just apologize to the team.
619 says Bears have been bad for 20 years.
That's true.
That's a fact.
That's true.
And they are a bad team. Until proven otherwise, which maybe it's this weekend.
615 says 60-mile-per-hour wind. Sounds like A-Chan train all day. Stay away.
Dude, maybe. However, Myles Garrett is on the other defensive line. And I look at Cleveland's backfield and I'm like, oh, they got 2 rookies in Sampson and Judkins that are really good. Okay, this might end up being a 6-0 game, which freaks me out.
You want to bet $1,000 on Dylan Gabriel?
I don't want to, but I don't want to do it on Caleb Williams either.
But Caleb Williams is 1,000 times better than Dylan Gabriel, or Drake May is 1,000 times better than Dylan Gabriel.
The Saints have a very good defensive line. Makes me a little nervous, but
what? Because Cam Jordan's there?
If you love the Bears so much, if you think Caleb Williams is so good, I am okay with the Bears. I just don't feel great about it.
The Browns that's ridiculous.
I'm more okay with the Bears than I am with the Patriots. I would say that.
Really? That's surprising because the Patriots feel like the safer pick to me, but the Bears feel like the pick that puts you ahead by burning a team that no one thought you would take.
619, go Browns. Judkins is going to run over Miami in SE weather at home.
Okay.
Dude, I don't hate the Browns. I really don't. All right.
858 says I would pick Browns because I'm spicy, but Chiefs and Seahawks seem super safe.
How about this?
Seattle.
How about this? You win long shots. I have zero input on this week's bet or pick.
No, I don't want that because then first off, because then it's going to be all on me and you're going to come in here and be chirping.
Look, if it's the Chicago Bears, if that ends up being our pick this week and they lose, yeah, it is all on you, Sammy.
First off, I wanted to take Miami back in the day, but when we would still have Denver, but that you crapped all over.
No one
that.
is talking about Miami right now.
No, I'm just saying if you listen to my picks, I have been money so far.
Let's see. Derek Togerson wants to weigh in here. He says, take the Panthers. Carolina has the Jets who cannot do anything right, and they're 3-1 in their last 4. Here's the problem.
That's interesting.
Here's
Togerson.
the problem. Bryce Young, in his career, has only won once on the road, and it was an overtime win.
I see. Okay, I see what Togerson's saying. That's an interesting game that we forgot to mention. It makes me. The Jets defense is nice.
I've looked at this game a lot. And the more I slice it down, because this was actually the initial one I wanted to take because Carolina's starting to look a little bit better. However, Bryce Young on the road in his career is awful.
And does Dowdle, who has gone off against the Cowboys in 2 weeks in a row, does that translate on the road? Like it might.
And the Jets do have a little bit better defense.
858 says Patriots are a lock. Another 858 says no way I would pick the Bears.
I don't feel good about the Chicago Bears. I really
you just
don't.
said you did.
I feel better than them about the Patriots. I don't feel good about anything this week, Sammy. I'm starting to get nervous.
We can't take the Chiefs. The Chiefs is like signing your death wish for the rest of the year because they play on Thanksgiving and Christmas.
858 Williams is going to choke. That's what I'm worried about. Thank
CW?
You. He finally had a good week, and now all of a sudden it's just going to be
maybe they got
disaster.
some momentum in Chicago.
Maybe. All right. Long shots is coming up next. Let's build some momentum, build some faith in Sammy with a hashtag.
My MLB picks were money.
Can we talk about Tajay Spears or whatever his name is?
Tage Thompson, our NHL pick, sold the bag because Shane Bieber went over on strikeouts. I told you Vladdy would hit a home run last time. He did.
I will not be subscribing to Tajay's OnlyFans anymore. We were going to, not anymore. San Diego Sports 760. Long shots next. Hey, it's Fletch for Gary Cooper at Mountain Trust Mortgage and Realty. Call Gary Cooper today at 858-376-1299. Gary, when you're in the home buying process, there's so many different options thrown your way, and people have so many questions about what it means to buy down your interest rate. What should people know before they do something like that?
Well, I tell you what, if you're actually trying to purchase a home, it is a good item to consider. And there's a couple of ways that it could be done. Just so that we're clear, for example, a 2-1 buy down allows buyers to temporarily reduce their interest rate for the first 2 years of the loan, allowing them to save money with reduced initial payments during that time. So yes, for the first 2 years, for the first year, you'll have a low payment, then it graduates usually a full percentage point the next year. And then the third year it graduates to another interest rate, full interest rate, and then thereafter it's the same rate for the rest of the term of the loan. So that's what a 2-1 buy down is. it makes sense. There's a couple ways you can do it. When you're buying a house, sometimes we, as your realtor, can negotiate the seller to maybe kick in that money to help you buy down the interest rate. Not necessarily you, but the seller as a concession can help you buy down the interest rate. So that's one thing to think of when you're buying a house. If you're refinancing, it's not something I recommend because down the road, we're anticipating that rates may perhaps go down. So why pay that money to buy down a rate when you can possibly get that down the road?
If you have questions about it, call Gary Cooper today, 858-376-1299. That's 858-376-1299, or visit him online at mountaintrustmortgage.com. Sammy, is it 1 o'clock yet?
It isn't.
I didn't think so. 5 minutes. Your chance to win a 4-pack of tickets to go to SeaWorld's Hallow Scream at SeaWorld San Diego this year. New horrors have awakened. 5 haunted houses, 8 terrifying scare zones, hidden speakeasies, and the shrills of coasters after dark every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now through November 2nd, Halloween fun for the whole family. For a limited time, kids go free with a paid adult ticket. Visit SeaWorldSanDiego.com for more information. This is the time of day we do something called long shots. I'm going to rapid fire through some of these text messages, and then we're going to get Sammy's lineup. Let's go 615. I can't imagine how shot Fletch's nerves will be if you guys are still alive come Thanksgiving. We plan to be. 858 Patriots or Bears this week. That's what we're thinking. 760. Hey guys, what's the deal with Thanksgiving and Christmas? Don't understand. Are they treated as separate weeks?
They are with Circa, so you have to pick those games. They're a separate week.
It's Thanksgiving and Black Friday, and then Christmas and Christmas Eve. Is there Christmas Eve games? I don't remember.
No, it's Christmas Day only. There's 3 games there, and then the 3 games on Thanksgiving and the Black Friday games. There's 4 games Thanksgiving week.
619. God, every day you two guys are sounding more and more like an old married couple. Bicker, bicker, bicker. I don't see no ring on this finger, Sammy. You going to propose to me some way nice? 615. Bryce Young against Sauce Gardner on the road? No thanks. And Dowdle and Hubbard will be on timeshare, so Dowdle might not have that rhythm he's had over the past 2 games.
Yeah.
Look, I love me some Derek Togerson, one of my favorite people in San Diego. I hate that pick. So no, we're not going to do
understand the thinking behind it, but I do think I'd rather, if you're going to go with the road team, I think New England's the way to go.
615. All right. If you don't want the sure thing in KC, I would take either the Broncos or the Seahawks. We've already picked both of those teams. And I just feel like taking a favored home team is going to increase your odds exponentially.
That's where you go with the Bears.
The Chicago Bears, which might end up being the pick.
Dude, Chi-Town, Caleb, going to get it done for us?
And to the point that we're an old married couple, like we're fighting over money, essentially is what we're doing. We're both trying
like an old married couple?
Yeah, we're pulling in the same direction. And this is more brainstorming than it is fighting. Like we have to put up every single possibility. I do think Sammy takes it personally sometimes. But if we're being honest, we should have taken the Raiders last
How
week.
am I taking it personally? I like that you challenge my ideas and I challenge yours. I just have to tell you when your ideas are wrong, and I have the decision at the end of the day. So I don't let.
Whoa. You do not just have sole power over the decision at the end of the day.
No, you have a decision, but at the end of the day, I have the password.
This was 50-50, mofo. I will choke you out or something and grab the phone if you're saying without full clarity of both sides submitting a pick. We're not doing that.
I've been honest Abe through the first 6 weeks.
Sure. You have. You've given me no reason not to trust you until the last 30 seconds. And now I'm thinking you're a conniving little guy over there. All right, Sammy, let's get to long shots. Go ahead. Smash it.
You looking for some luck?
Yes.
Want to win big? Gotta play big.
You are so money and you don't even know it.
Time to take a chance
Pay that man his money.
with long shots.
Speaking of rounders, do you see there's a new casino movie coming out on Netflix?
Wait, what?
It's with it's not the same thing as Rounders at all, but it's with Colin Farrell out in Vegas.
Oh, we will definitely be tapped into that.
It looks really good. I'm excited for it. Where are we going, Sammy?
Okay, so we got 2 baseball games tonight. We got Thursday Night Football. We're going to start with Thursday Night Football. All right. Joe Flacco, more than 36.5 passing attempts. I think Trey Hendrickson be out of this game. I think Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers are going to win this thing. I think they might win it handily. I think it'll be close at halftime. I think Joe Flacco going to be playing a lot from behind. I think this is easy. And Jamar Chase, at some point, you got to keep these guys happy because Jamar Chase was happy last week when Joe Flacco was throwing it all over the yard to him. Before, there was a lot of post-game interviews in the locker room about how he was pissed off and this is ridiculous, like a wasted season. Joe Flacco, more than 36.5 passing attempts because they're playing from behind, and that's what Vegas is telling you with the spread. On the other side, Jaylen Warren, more than 48.5 rush yards, kind of playing into the game script I'm talking about. I think Pittsburgh's going to be winning this game in the second half, and they're going to be playing with a lead. Jaylen Warren is the rushing back. Caleb Johnson, the rookie out of Iowa, is there. You got Kenneth Gainwell, but Kenneth Gainwell is more the receiving back, and Caleb Johnson gets touches after Jaylen Warren. Jaylen Warren, pretty underrated player. I think he goes more. I like this number at 48.5, more than 48.5 rush yards for Jaylen Warren. Then let's go to the afternoon game in Major League Baseball. Tyler Glasnow for the Dodgers. We're going to go less than 15.5 pitching outs. This isn't necessarily that I think he's going to pitch bad, but a lot of Glasnow's stuff is about swing and miss. That is kind of what he does. And the one Brewers' strength is that they don't swing a lot of bad pitches. And against Yamamoto and Blake Snell, who paint the strike zone because they don't have a lot of power hitters in that lineup, Snell and Yamamoto look great. Glasnow, though, is a lot about swing and miss. He was getting the Phillies to chase a lot last week. I think the Brewers are a little bit more patient to play today.
And desperate.
They were swinging a lot of first pitches in game 2. So I think Tyler Glasnow, less than 15.5 pitching outs, because Dave Roberts at some point is going to have to go to the bullpen because they've literally been barely used. And for Dodger fans, it's probably a good thing.
But that would be completely bucking the trend of what the Dodgers have been doing,
yes,
right?
I think this is the one. Yes, they have been going super late in games. We've cashed overs on all these. I think today is the day Glasnow goes a little bit shorter than everyone else.
So you're saying he's coming out before the 6th inning?
Before the 6th inning. I think he goes 5.
Okay.
And then we're going to go Toronto, Seattle, Max Scherzer. I'm going with the vet. More than 4 pitch strikeouts. He's looking for his first MLB playoffs win since the Nationals in the World Series 2019. Quietly, he's been kind of nice recently. 5 strikeouts in his last outing that he had, 2 against Kansas City, but then he hit 7 and 8 the 2 games before that. So Scherzer's been pretty good here. The bullpen was able to be saved yesterday because they were blowing out the Mariners so bad. But I think Max Scherzer, this is kind of a hunch pick. I think four strikeouts is a little bit low. This is a guy who in one performance could easily put out an excellent pitching performance. It's more about Scherzer and your Verlanders and guys like that over the course of a season, staying healthy and being able to have command. But so I think more than 4 pitch strikeouts for Max Scherzer. So to recap, Joe Flacco, more than 36.5 passing attempts. Jalen Warren, running back for Pittsburgh, more than 48.5 rush yards. Tyler Glasnow, less than 15.5 pitching outs for the Dodgers. And Max Scherzer, more than 4 pitch strikeouts for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Can I sprinkle a red demon?
Sure.
Just a sprinkle.
Sure.
If you want it, this is a total bonus. I just happen to think this is absolutely going to cash. Prize Picks has this new thing where they're doing completions in first 10 attempts.
I saw that. Tyler was telling me about that on the stream.
I like the Aaron Rodgers 7.5 completions in the first 10 attempts.
Okay.
Because I don't have a whole lot of faith in Cincy's defense, and I think the Steelers are going to jump on him early, much like you said. So I think he probably goes 8 for 10, 9 for 9, something like that in his first 10
See, I like that pick because it follows the game script. If you're going off what Vegas is telling you, you got to bet with the game script.
And it's a little red demon.
It's a little red demon.
Which is always nice.
Get a little spice in your life. You know
That's
what I mean?
if you want it, I like that pick a lot. All right, that's hour one. It's in the books right now. Your opportunity to win a 4-pack of tickets to SeaWorld, a family 4-pack for How Low Scream, which is going on now through November 2nd, every Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 877-767-4760 is the number to call. Sammy, what number caller is going to win these tickets?
Let's do, we get a lot of callers on this.
Like 27?
That's a lot of work for me. Let's do 11.
How about caller number 11? You're going to SeaWorld How Low Scream now through November 2nd. Halloween fun for the whole family for a limited time. Kids are going free with a paid adult ticket. Visit SeaWorldSanDiego.com to buy tickets. Caller number 11. Right now, you're winning those tickets. It's San Diego Sports 760. Hour 2 next. Hey, it's Fletch for Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use promo code Fletch. You're going to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Here's what we have going today. Tyler Glasnow, less than 15.5 pitching outs. Jalen Warren, more than 48.5 rushing yards. Aaron Rodgers, more than 7.5 completions in his first 10 passing attempts. And Max Scherzer, more than 4 pitcher strikeouts tonight. That's how easy it is. It takes us about 60 seconds to make a lineup. 5 more seconds to submit that lineup, and boom, if it all happens, we win big on Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use promo code Fletch. That is FLETCH, and get in on all the sports action, no matter what your sport is. Football, basketball, hockey, pro baseball, everything out there is available for you on Prize Picks. Hell, there's even video game lineups that you can enter. So download the Prize Picks app today. It's totally free. Use promo code Fletch. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And on Prize Picks, I tell you this all the time. This is my mantra. It's good to be right.
This sport's sponsored by Mucinex 12-hour DM. Brewers Dodgers getting here going at 3:08. Dodgers looking to take a 3-0 series lead. Tyler Glasnow will be on the mound for the Dodgers, while Aaron Ashby will be getting the ball for Milwaukee. And the Blue Jays, after getting a win last night in Seattle, will be back tonight taking on the Mariners in Game 4. That game gets going at 5:33. The veteran, Max Scherzer, will be on the stripe for the Blue Jays, while Luis Castillo will go for the Mariners. And Thursday Night Football has the Bengals hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are currently 5.5-point road favorites. Say not today to coughing, chest congestion with Mucinex 12-hour with just one pill. Mucinex 12-hour works continuously to break up mucus and move it up and out. Mucinex 12-hour, rid the congestion, kill the cough, use as directed. Kill the cough with Mucinex 12-hour DM.
It's hour number 2 here on San Diego Sports 760. Ben Fletcher, Sammy Long with you till 2 o'clock. Rich Ohrnberger going to be joining us in about 10 minutes to talk through some Week 7 NFL. Text line helping us out here, 858. You cats are going full Treasure of Sierra Madre. Sammy, do you know what the Treasure of Sierra Madre is?
I do not.
It was a book for don't feel bad about it. This is only because my babysitter was obsessed with old Westerns and showed us a bunch of movies when we were way too young. The Sierra Madre was a 40s or 50s movie that was based off of a book about a couple of guys who used to work on like oil rigs, and then they are down on their luck, and then they get roped into some elaborate gold hunting thing down in Mexico. And once they find the gold, the treasure of Sierra Madre, they start distrusting everything between the two of them. So you and I are, in fact, going full Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
Did they get the treasure at the end?
One of them did.
So someone's going to be cut out of the deal.
Someone died in that movie, Sammy. I don't know if we're going the same way. But yeah, good text 858, good poll, and different 858 numbers saying, quote, I control the pick. Fletch, you may need to contact a lawyer.
No.
Any lawyers around San Diego want to help me out? We got some advertising room on this show.
It's not that I'm cutting Fletch out. It's just that when Fletch wants to make crazy picks,
like the Raiders last week, which would have been a great pick.
Okay, again, I won in Miami a month and a half ago, so we're even on dog water teams getting a victory. But when you come to me saying let's pick Cleveland, that's where my spidey senses go up.
I'll be honest, the text line brought that one up. I just really like the pick, but we'll see. We're not going to do it. I think we're going with Chicago. I feel good about that. I have felt good about that the whole way. Just want to make sure we're exploring every option. It is San Diego Sports 760. By the way, another option we haven't yet explored is the Jags over the Rams. If the Rams don't have Puka Nacua, seems crazy, but could be there. No. Again, exploring.
Okay, but you got to remember, Jacksonville's going to play like Tennessee and some teams. So for sure. Twice. I agree. That feels like a let's rush the pick.
But if we can't explore, then what are we doing here? We have to look at all the options. That's what smart people do.
I thought the Sierra Madre thing was from National Treasure with Nick Cage.
Not quite.
That's what I thought that was when I read the text.
No, I don't think. No, Nick Cage was Declaration of Independence. He was the Lost City of Gold. There was a couple other things. Spanish Inquisition. Those are good movies, though. Underrated movies.
We need a historian on here.
Yeah, we really do. Thanksgiving's coming up. Maybe we'll talk to like a pilgrim or something. It is San Diego Sports
Pilgrim roaming the streets.
Let's get to the big three here because we got Rich coming up very, very soon. So we want to save some time for him. Sammy, go ahead, smash it.
Your lunch break is here. Ready to go back to the office and knock the socks off your friends? Coworkers? It's time for the top stories of the day. The Big Three.
Where would you like to go here in hour number 2, Mr. Long?
We're going to Miami, actually. Tua Tagovailoa, controversial comments Sunday postgame talking about how guys are late to players-only meetings, calling out leadership within the organizations. He apologized and said he made a mistake today. Do you think Tua will be a franchise quarterback next year, a starting quarterback next year?
I think Tua needs a new place, much like we've seen success from Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones. I think Tua can be one of those guys. He's got a lot of talent. He needs to go to a new place. Unfortunately, this thing is kind of burned out in Miami. Look, when that offense was good last year and the year before and Tua was healthy, which has been few and far between times, you could see the arm talent and the leadership talent of Tua Tagovailoa. Unfortunately, in Miami, it seems like he's a bit broken. This almost feels like a situation where he needs to go sit somewhere for a year and maybe get another shot with a different team. Because right now, I look, the fact that Tua didn't just handle this, instead of going to the media, going up to individual players, which I'm positive there is some bad apples in that Miami group because that's how things devolve into chaos. The fact that Tua didn't go to them and demand greatness out of them individually, that he had to go to the media and do it, is such a chicken-esque move that I don't know that you win back leadership like that. It has to be earned, and Tua's done a bad job of earning it in Miami.
Yeah, it felt very the last few months with Tua. It's like, hey, it's everybody but me. It's the Tyreek comments. Remember in the offseason, it was he has to earn back the trust because of what he said last season when he was talking about kind of insinuating after week 18 he wanted to trade. Now all of a sudden, knowing, and Tua can play dumb, knowing that Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel's jobs are on the line. They're probably getting fired here soon if they don't start winning games. To call that out post game, to call it a players only meeting, like that is your job. Like you are the quarterback of the team. You're supposed to be the guy that everyone's like, hey, when he speaks, he's the guy that everyone's listening to. Felt like a real mistake. And Tua, going forward, he will get an opportunity somewhere because he was a high draft pick, and we have seen times where Tua has lit the world on fire. But with all the injury concerns, I mean, maybe if you're like a team like the Jets that don't get a quarterback next year, the quarterback you want, you take a flyer on him, or Pittsburgh maybe might be interesting if Aaron Rodgers is done after this year. But yeah, I don't think Tua is a franchise quarterback going forward. Let's actually go to kind of college football, but also the NFL. So a staffer from Penn State, anonymous staffer, said that Drew Aller, the quarterback who was getting number 1 overall pick buzz, would have been a Heisman candidate, win the Heisman, number 1 overall pick, if he played at Ohio State, the rival. This leads me to my question. What quarterback has impressed you the most in college football this year? And do you think the fact that some of the early favorites with Arch Manning and Drew Aller not performing the way is reevaluating how teams are looking at next year's draft?
Look, I think next year's draft was supposed to be something really special. Now I feel like this is going to be a defensive lineman, offensive lineman style draft. No one's been great, right? Look around the league. Who's gotten big buzz? John Mateer, he's had some flops. The kid from Michigan, Underwood, has had major flops. Drew Aller has been flop after flop after flop. Arch Manning has not been nearly what we thought Arch Manning was going to be. It's been a struggle to find incredible quarterback play across all of college football this year. I think that the eyes looking to next year's draft have gone away from the quarterback position. And now you're looking at some teams like the Saints. You might have to endure another year with Spencer Rattler as your starter and maybe draft a quarterback a little later on who you think can develop. But at this point, I don't know who you would take number 1 overall.
Well, and this is why you play the games. It's like, I mean, you're looking at this and go, Arch Manning was the savior. He does not look like that. I know he had a better week last week.
Clemson kid Klubnik, by the way, has been bad
a disaster.
This year too.
And Drew Aller, I never got the Drew Aller hype. People feel like they really wanted to make him into a big thing.
Like, is Maeva all of a sudden a favorite to be a top 10 pick next year?
Maeva, I don't know if Maeva is a top 10 pick, but Maeva isn't out of USC is kind of coming in that Heisman conversation. He could be interesting. I do think Lenore Sellers at the end of the day in South Carolina, even though he struggled a little bit, could actually be one of those guys that's actually better in the NFL, kind of because of his style of play. But yeah, it does feel like that. It's like this is why preseason drafts, mock drafts for next year, it's like they have to actually go out there and play. Underwood's a year away, and he doesn't even look all that great. He got ate up by the USC defense. But yeah, it was a disappointing season so far for quarterbacks next year.
All right, we're gonna have to cut this short. We'll get back to it coming up at 1:30. But Big Rich Ohrnberger is joining us next with a special tease for what's coming up tomorrow. It's San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app. SDFC's final regular season match is Saturday night at the Portland Timbers. Our coverage will begin 5:30 this Saturday on your home for SDFC, San Diego Sports 760. I look to the text line for a second and I see the 949 saying, yeah, woo, happy Thursday to those to celebrate. I'm celebrating up in O-side. You the man, Rich.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Big Rich. How are you?
Good afternoon, gang. I am doing really, really good.
I do believe that's our buddy Jerome. Now, I teased this interview, Rich, by setting up for those of you who listen to Big Rich, TD, and Fletch in the mornings here on San Diego Sports 760, who maybe have strayed away from our morning show over on 101.5 KGB. Maybe a guy like Jerome, maybe a guy like Joe Moon, maybe Larry out in Lakeside, a bunch of different people who we interacted with on a day-to-day basis over here. They may want to tune in for something special coming up tomorrow on 101.5 KGB. Rich, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a very special announcement coming up. It's something that we have been mulling about, a big return for quite some time. And if you tune into tomorrow's show and you've been a longtime listener of Big Rich, TD, and Fletch, you're really, really going to enjoy that. So again, that's 6 to 10 a.m. over on 101.5 KGB.
Just a thought. You might want to try us out tomorrow if you've
I'll be tuning in.
Sammy, you'll be at 6 a.m.
First time caller, long time listener.
That'd be great. We'd love to see it. Rich, if I told you that I was putting $1,000 down on the Chicago Bears this weekend in a home game, how would you feel about that?
Boy, not great. Not great. Not all the way bad, though.
They're playing against the Saints in Chicago.
Yeah. The Chicago Bears, they are a bit of an enigma still. I think that they're heading in the right direction. I think that there are gaps on the roster that need to be filled. They need to do a better job up front. They kind of suffer and struggle with a little bit of what the Chargers actually struggle with, which is, they seem to have a pretty competent quarterback. I don't know. I do know he's not on the level of a Justin Herbert yet. Could he be someday? Maybe. Caleb Williams was an uber talented college football player. He hasn't materialized at the NFL level quite the same way. But if they do a better job of protecting him, we'll see his full potential unleashed. Against the Saints, man, I mean, you want to count that as a W, but can we really count any W's before we actually see them played out this NFL season or, frankly, this college football season? It feels like in the NFL, there's been more parity this season than there's been in many, many years. And I feel very similarly about the college football season. So, man, just straight up betting the money line for $1,000 on the Chicago Bears, that would be a stay away from me personally.
Well, it looks like that might be our Circus Survivor pick this week, Rich, and I'm nervous.
Rich, our other option is your former New England Patriots. How do you feel about them?
On the road against Tennessee.
Man, Tennessee is in a little bit of a spiral right now. How do I feel about the Patriots? Drake May, coming off of that win against the Saints, who the Bears are about to face, I think he's looked pretty exceptional considering he's in his second year and they're not all the way fixed up. Look, there's some roster gaps in New England that need to be fixed, obviously. But when you look at the Tennessee Titans, they're kind of in free fall. They're not going to be punishing any. Look, you got to pick between the New England Patriots and the Bears. There's no other teams.
If we are doing it according to what we need to do the rest of the season and this week, those are the only two games that make sense to pick right now. The other one being the Cleveland Browns against the Miami Dolphins in Cleveland. Bad weather game. We know how Tua has been in bad weather.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't want to say your Bears are the safest bet. Yeah, it is. But out of those three, yeah, I guess I can make the argument that the Bears are the safest bet. Gosh, right. Boy, you guys got yourself painted into a corner a little bit.
Yeah, we sweat this. It is all we think about. Rich, so curious for the top of the NFC, AFC, who are you more concerned about, the Bills or the Eagles with 2 straight losses?
I would say I'm more concerned about the Philadelphia Eagles. And here's the reason why. The Eagles, to me, I think I think I think they've lost a little bit of control of what made them special not too long ago. I mean, I don't really understand the fixation on the passing game. You know, what made them special a year ago was the fact that Saquon Barkley opening up running lanes for him and featuring the run game and then sort of supplanting the run game with an efficient passing game was what made this team special. And when you get too cute or you get away from the script that works, I mean, it lends me to believe, like, you know, what are we really doing here? Like, why are we getting away from that? You know, that game against New York Giants, I mean, they got soundly beat by the Giants. Why did that game get away from them too long? I mean, mistakes, obviously, they made plenty, but also I don't think they're focusing on Saquon Barkley in this run game, and they're not paying close enough attention to the film from last year and saying, hey, how do we get back to that? I think they're overthinking it a little bit offensively.
Rich, there's a bunch of, and Rich Ohrnberger joining us right now here on San Diego Sports 760. But Rich, there's a bunch of kind of rumors about different players that could end up being on the move by November 4th, which is the trade deadline in the NFL. If you think back to your time playing, were there signs ahead of time, like say an edge defender named Trey Hendrickson, who's missing a game on Thursday Night Football with a back and hip issue that we know has been an issue, but he's a name that's hot on the block? Like, how often is it fake-ish injuries trying to protect guys leading up to the trade deadline?
Yeah, I mean, it's a real thing. It is a real thing. Look, I mean, Cincinnati, they have been a slow starting team the entire season. That loss to Green Bay in week 6 was obviously another perfect example of how, even with, you know, Joe Flacco instead of Jake Browning, if you get off to a sluggish start against any team in the NFL, it's really hard to fight back. Flacco looked composed. You know, the Cincinnati Bengals overall look better with him at the helm than they did with Browning at the helm. But yeah, I think this season is just about over for the Bengals. So when you look at a guy like Trey Hendrickson and the value he has to the Bengals, he's only as valuable as his health right now. Everybody in the league knows he's a talented football player. But is he going to be healthy enough to factor in the second half of the season for whatever team decides to gamble on him and trade for him? That's the only bugaboo. So yeah, to answer your question, this has happened plenty during my time, well before my time, and it'll happen, you know, here into the future. Players will all of a sudden mysteriously show up on the injury report on one side of a trade and then magically will be cured as soon as they get to their new city destination.
Rich, I'm curious. I don't know if you saw the Tua Tagovailoa comments Sunday after the games. He kind of called out Dolphins leadership and the fact that players were late to team meetings or players only meetings. What does that do to a locker room when a guy like calls that out in the media?
It creates a divide. I don't think the right way to lead. I mean, I think there are times where it's okay to lead through the media and to maybe, you know, put things out there that you want to see your team do better if you're a head coach. You know, occasionally there's time for that, but most of those types of things really need to be taken care of in-house. And so I think he felt it. I think now he's trying to walk back some of those comments. And I think that's a smart choice because as the leader of that football team, which self-admitted, and obviously he is a leader of that football team, he can't be doing that. He can't be putting his teammates on blast like that. And I think it's actually, if he does go on a little bit of an apology tour here and you know, tries to put a little bit of the toothpaste back on the tube, some of that humility can go a long way with certain guys. You're not going to win everybody back. You're not obviously going to make a friend out of an enemy necessarily if there are any on this roster, but it can go a long way. I think he stepped in it a little bit with his comments, and I think the only thing that's going to cure this at this point is winning. It was a close loss to close loss to an AFC rival in the Chargers. Not a good game for the Dolphins, and we've said that many times throughout the course of the season. And Tua is a big part of that. It's not. I mean, look, I'm not saying he's the only problem, but Tua is the problem so far this season.
Rich Ohrnberger joining us now. Rich, you've been on the road with this San Diego State Aztecs team all year, and as they enter into their second bye week of the season, getting ready for really the bulk of their schedule here in the Mountain West Conference, starting next week when they take on Fresno State. How would you characterize this team as in comparison to last year's team that only won 3 games on the season? Obviously, this year looking in a much different direction. They got their eyes set on a Mountain West championship, and they're the ones who can make that a reality by kind of playing really well here down the stretch. What's the main differences you've seen comparing last year's team to this year's team?
Well, I think culturally they're more sound, and I think that's partially because of actually something that JD Wicker, the athletic director, pointed out on your pregame show with J.R. Tolver before this most recent game against Nevada. The fact that, you know, we see coaches kind of turn a corner culturally around the halfway point of year 2. You know, you're about 18 games into your tenure. There aren't very many surprises left for your players, especially the ones who have been there that whole run. You know, they know how you're going to react to things. They know how you're going to deal with adversity. They know who you are from a personality standpoint. And now they're indoctrinated into the system that you like to run. And Sean Lewis and any new head coach has a hill to climb to install their culture, not only their playbook, but their language and the type of team that they want to be and identify as. And I think a lot of that work, you know, a lot of that hay is in the barn, so to speak. Now, talking about the players and the roster construction, this is a better roster, you know, and you need players to win football games. We all know that. You can fool them some of the times with scheme. You can make up for a lot with great coaching, but you need players. And San Diego State has a wealth of talented players, and they've been fairly fortunate with health the first half of the season. And this second bye week comes at a great time because now it's like, okay, let's get our wheels back under us. You know, we'll throw it in neutral for a week, and then we have the teeth of our conference schedule. It's 6 straight, and we're staring down the barrel of a potential Mountain West Conference championship berth here if we just take care of business. And so far, with a 5-1 record, they've taken care of a lot of business already.
It's going to be a fun second half. We can't wait for it. Of course, you'll hear all the action here on San Diego Sports 760. Rich, tomorrow morning, what time should we be telling people to tune in for our big announcement?
Yeah, specifically 8 a.m. It would be a great time to flip it over to 101.5 KGB. Listen to Big Rich, TD, and Fletch. We are going to have some fun.
It's going to be a party. Can't wait for it. See you tomorrow, Rich. Thank you for your time today, man. It's San Diego Sports 760. You're listening live on the iHeartRadio app. Quick break here. We'll get deeper into week 7 coming up next.
This report sponsored by King's Hawaiian Sliders. Thursday Night Football. Steelers currently 5.5-point road favorites in Cincinnati. That line was originally at 4.5. It has moved a point since star pass rusher Trey Hendrickson has been ruled out of the game. The point total is set at 44.5. And the NLCS gets going here in an hour and a half. Tyler Glasnow will be on the mound for the Dodgers, while Aaron Ashby will be going for the Brewers. That'll be at 3:08. And in the night game at 5:33, the Blue Jays will be looking to even the series at 2 apiece in the nightcap against the Mariners. Eli Manning reminds you there's nothing like football and King's Hawaiian Sliders. There's something about those soft, fluffy, irresistible King's Hawaiian Sliders that make them a winner on game day. Pick them up this weekend in the bakery or deli section of your grocery store. King's Hawaiian. There's nothing like it.
How about this? Old school Eminem.
Throwback Eminem.
Okay. Let's see here. We congratulate all of our $5,000 winners in iHeartRadio's Think a Teacher, powered by Donors Choose. There's still time for you to nominate a public school teacher to make $5,000 in a gift to make over their classroom. Help us say thank you to the educators who are shaping our futures. Nominate your favorite teacher now at iHeartRadio.com/teachers. If there's anyone that I'd like to talk about teachers over, it's Eminem from in the early 2000s.
Dude. There's some early deep cuts on M that don't get enough play.
All right, we're going to get into some contenders, pretenders conversation in the NFL. I did want to point out, I saw it on the text line. I've seen it online all day today. Apparently, there are some rumors out there, some reports from people I don't necessarily recognize that the Padres are talking with Albert Pujols to be their next manager.
Well, that would be interesting.
No, it's not like there's been a ton of players who have a ton of success at being managers. A lot of time it's actually like lesser known catchers end up making the best head coaches.
Because they call games well.
Yeah, but Albert Pujols.
You know what I also saw today? The great Manny Ramirez wants to come back to baseball as a hitting coach.
I wouldn't hate that.
Wouldn't hate that either. Manny Ramirez could leads postseason home runs. I saw like last night on the broadcast, he's like 29 postseason home runs. The Padres could certainly use some postseason home runs from some stars.
Look, we could talk about smoke fire all we want. There's definitely smoke right now about the Padres and Albert Pujols. Here's what I get worried about in this situation. Albert Pujols has been tagged to be the next head coach, the manager of the Anaheim Angels, Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Is this maybe Pujols trying to start a bit of a bidding war? The Padres have been used in these situations in the past.
Well, and how much money are the Padres actually going to spend?
Right. Do you remember a tweet that came out from Ken Rosenthal that said Padres and Scherzer are close on a deal? And then all of a sudden he was a Dodger. So the Padres have been used in situations like this in the past. That's what would worry me about this. Would I hate Albert Pujols being the next manager of the Padres? No, I don't think I'd hate it. At the very least, this could be ownership saying, look, man, we got to reward all these fans that have been showing up and continuing to put butts in seats. Albert Pujols is a name that would be huge in San Diego. You would think that Fernando Tatis Jr., Manny Machado have been looking up to Albert Pujols for most of their lives, as a lot of us did. And so maybe that's a great hire. He obviously has no managerial experience. I don't know that it's the best fit when you're talking about baseball, but maybe Albert Pujols could get his feet wet working with the San Diego Padres as manager. I don't know. How I feel
this whole
about
situation's very odd with everyone apparently.
Like, is it just a foregone conclusion that Pujols is going to be a great manager?
No, it's just a lot of baseball managers people don't recognize unless you're a diehard baseball fan. And Albert Pujols is a name that you can sell to people because the casual baseball fan knows who Albert Pujols is and was obviously had a tremendous career. So I think it's interesting. I think it's a name brand hire who you might not have to pay a ton to because,
of course, the text line's already pointing out maybe you could teach Fernando how to hide steroids.
Well, listen.
Hold on, text line.
If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's get to some. Give me some NFL horns, Sammy. I need them in my life. There it is, baby. All right, pretenders, contenders. Sammy, you got a list of options for me?
We're starting with the AFC first. Okay, we're gonna start with the team playing tonight, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then, real quick though, contenders, pretenders for winning the Super Bowl or making the playoffs.
I'd say being competitive in the postseason.
Okay.
Being competitive in the postseason, the Steelers are absolutely contenders in my mind. Look, Aaron Rodgers, I would say, should have had much more postseason success in his career. Some of those Packers teams he was with were absolutely loaded with talent and probably should have won more Super Bowls. But when you talk about the experience on the AFC side, who's had more postseason experience than Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers? There's really not, if you look around the league. Aaron Rodgers getting into the postseason, that Steelers defense getting to the postseason is going to be a problem for everybody. I would like to see it. I think it'd be good for football if the Steelers are in the mix late, and I think they're absolutely contenders.
I agree with you. I think this team has been missing a quarterback. Look at the postseason failure. It's been because they couldn't score. They got blown out in Kansas City a few years ago because they could not score despite the defense being great. They got doubled up by the Baltimore Ravens last year, again, because they couldn't score. I think Aaron Rodgers, I don't know that they're a favorite to win the Super Bowl, but I think after the Chiefs and the Bills, in terms of power rankings, I think you could make a real case for Pittsburgh being number 3. All right, let's
not to mention they're probably going to win their division.
Yes, they will win. Yeah. Okay, so the Indianapolis Colts, 5-1, leading the AFC, pretender or contender?
Dude, I gotta say pretender. I'm sorry. Like, I do think Daniel Jones is for real. I think he's a good quarterback at this point. The offense is humming. The Colts don't have that big signature win under their belt yet. And until I see it, I think I have to put them in that category. Who do the Colts have this week, by the way?
They have
the Chargers in LA.
So big game.
Big game for the Colts. In fact, my answer could change by this time next week if the Colts notch a huge win.
I get it. They should have beat the Rams if Adonai Mitchell just holds on to the football and runs in the end zone. But at the end of the day, they didn't. They beat up on a lot of subpar competition. They are a pretender to me because at the end of the day, I don't think Daniel Jones is going on the road to Buffalo, to Kansas City, to Pittsburgh and getting wins. I just don't see it happening. All right, let's go to the Chargers. The Chargers, a pretender or a contender?
If Joe Alt comes back and is healthy for the rest of the season, they are contenders in the AFC. I think that's the absolute fact. Now, it's going to be a wild card contender, but once they get into the postseason, if they start to get healthier, maybe get that run game back and going, get the offensive line back and going, the defense for the Chargers is still very, very good and healthy for the most part-ish. So you look at the Chargers, and they will have the roster if they're able to get a little healthier by the time the postseason comes around. Joe Alt, questionable for this week. I believe that's still the case.
Looking like he's going to make his debut next week, but they don't know.
So if he comes back and is as good as he was early in the season, yeah, man, the Chargers, if they can get that offensive line back and give Herbert a little bit more time, they're contenders.
They're contenders if they go get a receiver at the deadline. They're getting Khalil Mack back. They're Amari Hampton's coming back. They got Joe Alt coming back. I know that Keenan Allen was great against the Chiefs. I know he was great the first couple weeks. Lad McConkey can't be the only guy that's reliable because Quentin Johnson.
Chris Olave to the Chargers.
If I'm the Chargers, I would do something like that. I think that's because McConkey's legit. I don't think at the end of the day, again, what are you talking about? Going into Kansas City, going into Buffalo, going into Pittsburgh, with Lad McConkey being at the end of the day, you're only really consistent deep threat target because Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnson, I think, is a little bit of a S show. I think they have to get a receiver. If they are, I will make them a contender.
I'd be going after Njoku if I was the Chargers. Trying to get a big, huge receiving tight end, a threat in the red zone. That would be a good pick for me.
All right, we're going to a couple more teams in the AFC, but we're going to go to the NFC. The Seattle Seahawks, currently sitting at 4-2. Are the Seattle Seahawks a contender or a pretender?
That defense is terrifying in Seattle. Leonard Williams is having himself a potential defensive player of the year type season. I really like Seattle this year. I hate Seattle as a team. I really like how they're built this year. They are a contender if Sam Darnold doesn't have a late season collapse like he had a year ago.
I'm going with the contender. I've been high on Sam Darnold for years now. I think that this guy was completely wrote off. No, I think they're winning a Super Bowl this year, but I do think that in the NFC, with not a really dominant team stepping up, that's a great home field environment. If they could find a way to win that division, the defense is extremely young, like you were talking about. And Sam Darnold, JSN's the new superstar in the NFL.
Jackson Smith and Jigba is fantastic.
And Cooper Kupp is it too.
I think they got a pair of running backs who are both extremely productive in Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker.
They could take that show on the road if they need to.
They have maybe the best skill position players in the NFC.
The Atlanta Falcons, 3-2, coming off a big win at the Buffalo Bills.
Got to be pretenders for me still. Look, Michael Penix just still has some stuff to prove. They win games if Bijan Robinson is up over like 170 all-purpose yards. Outside of that, they're not winning at a clip good enough yet. I need to see more from Michael Penix before I'm willing to do it. If he stacks some more performances like he did on Monday night, all of a sudden contenders. But as of right now, no.
I'm going contender. I actually like this team. I think in terms of a roster, the defense really impressed me what they were able to do against Buffalo and even the season. They're a young team. That's why you see them beat Minnesota and they get blown out by the Carolina Panthers. It's a week in, week out thing. I think Penix will get better as the season goes along, and I just think the weapons there, they could be interesting. All right, we're going to go to the Green Bay Packers, 3-1-1, number 2 seed in the NFC, contender or pretender?
This is the one that's really right on the line for me. I'm gonna say contender, and I'll tell you why. And I think Sammy's probably gonna go pretender on this one. I think that when's Christian Watson coming back?
A few weeks. I don't know that exactly, but I think it's a few weeks.
If they can add one more wide receiver to this group, which they will be doing with Christian Watson coming back, Jordan Love has shown me enough. Now, the tie to Dallas is the only reason I'm holding back, because who do you think they're going to play in the postseason? They're going to play a team like Dallas. And if you're willing to get in shootouts with teams like Dallas, you're going to lose games eventually. I think the Packers are right there on that line, man. I also had no faith watching them last week against the Bengals.
I'm going pretender.
I'm leaning more that direction.
I don't see Jordan Love again. What are we talking about? You're going on the road. Jalen Hurts, Matthew Stafford, Baker Mayfield. Hell, I'll throw Jared Goff in there, Sam Darnold. I mean, like, I just don't see it with Jordan Love, why he's going to go on the road and do this. The offense is too dysfunctional. I agree with you. They needed a number one receiver. They have a lot of good receivers, but they don't have a great receiver. And at the end of the day, you have to have either a tight end or a receiver that if it's 4th and 4 in the postseason, you can hit on a slant route and they're going to catch the ball. And I think that they're going to have some identity issues going in there late. I would say pretender for the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah. You got one more for us?
Let's go to the Philadelphia Eagles. Are they a contender or a pretender?
I mean, they got the roster of a contender, but they sure are acting like a bunch of pretenders right now, aren't they? I'm really concerned that Philadelphia has fallen into that trap of what happened 2 years ago when they ripped off 6 straight losses to lose the season. They got their asses kicked by the New York Giants. I cannot have a team that got their asses kicked by the New York Giants in my contender mode. They are pretenders.
I'm going to go contender just because I think it's contingent on them getting home field advantage. I don't see them being able to take it on the road, the fact that they're outgained in every game, but I do think the roster is too talented. I don't think they're winning the Super Bowl this year, but I think that they will be a handful in the playoffs. They still are the defending champs until beaten. I got to go contender for them.
All right. Contender, pretender. We'll reevaluate in a few weeks. How does that sound? Maybe after the trade deadline, we do this again?
Yeah, let's do it.
After the trade deadline, we'll do it again. All right, we'll wrap this thing up. Coming up next, there's some news out of the movie and TV world that I'm very excited about. Plus, a little hint at what's coming up tomorrow. San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use promo code Fletch, and you can run your game all season long on Prize Picks. If you use promo code Fletch, you're getting $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 entry. And if you got the skills, man, you could win up to 2,000 times your cash on Prize Picks. No, I did not stutter. 2,000 times your cash on Prize Picks. They're changing the game once again. Of course, Taco Tuesdays and Flex Fridays are already elite promotions, but now you can stack players in your same lineup. So you've always been able to go, let's see, I like Joe Flacco to do more than X amount of passing yards. I like Jamar Chase to do more than X amount of rushing yards or receiving yards, excuse me. But now you could say, hey, I like Jamar Chase to do more than X amount of receiving yards and more than X amount of catches. You can use the same player multiple times from the same game in your lineups. That is a game changer from Prize Picks. Nobody else is doing that. Download the Prize Picks app today. Pick more than or less than on at least 2 player stat projections. Takes less than 60 seconds to set your lineup, and you can win big on Prize Picks. Right now, we are in the honey pot, man. We are in the middle of baseball postseason, football regular season, college football season. Basketball is getting started here in a week. Hockey is going right now. Download Prize Picks. have it be your gateway into sports heaven. That's what I always say. Download Prize Picks today. Use promo code Fletch, FLETCH. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup, because on Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Off the top of your head, Sammy, do you know who won those SeaWorld tickets today?
Oh, you're asking me to go back an hour. Oh, Aiden.
Aiden, what's going on, dude? Thank you for listening, Aiden. We appreciate you a lot. If you missed the show today, Big Rich was on it. We teased a little something special coming up tomorrow. For those of you who are fans of Big Rich, TD, and Fletch, back when we were here on 760 in the mornings, we're bringing something back, a tradition like no other. Much like the Masters golf tournament, we are bringing something back to Big Rich, TD, and Fletch tomorrow. So make sure you're listening 6 to 10 a.m. on 101.5 KGB. And of course, Sammy and I will be here noon to 2 tomorrow. The shape we'll be in to be determined. All right.
Yeah. So when does that get going? 8 a.m.?
Yeah, probably at like 6:12 if we're being completely honest.
So if I decide to come in here early, there will be some things for me.
Yeah. Some treats, some treasures.
Some treats and treasures.
Come on over. All right. Joe Flacco versus Aaron Rodgers tonight. That's one thing. We got a 41-year-old going against a 40-year-old, and that's fun. And ESPN's having their fun with it. I think they're calling it the Icy Hot Bowl. I've seen it called the Walker Bowl. I've seen it called the Retirement Home. All that's very, very funny. Throw all that to the side. Has everyone seen Halle Berry's social media today?
No.
Oh my God. Go look it up immediately. Today is her 59th birthday. And she's posted some pictures of her at her vacation spot, wherever she is in the world right now. Stunning. Outrageous. 59?
Wait.
Are you serious?
Wait, this is the TV news?
No, there's some other stuff. I just wanted to point that out because like everyone's talking about how old these two quarterbacks are. Old ain't old anymore. Look at Halle Berry at 59 years old.
Except Halle Berry has treated her body right over the years.
Woo!
Instead of getting hit by 300-pound men.
But Aaron Rodgers takes ayahuasca, so he's cured all of that. He's fine.
Yeah, he's on another level than all of us.
No, the movie and TV news is, if you haven't seen it yet, the previews for It, Welcome to Derry, which comes out 10 days from right now on October 26th, look fantastic. And I don't know if people
looks scary, that show.
Are you into that genre? Are you?
Yeah, I'm going to see Black Phone 2 tomorrow night.
Cool. Have you seen the two It movies they've made, the newer ones?
I've seen the second one actually.
So I really liked both of them. I thought they did a good job. They brought the director back for this series, and it's going, I think, 40 years back in time to when Pennywise first kind of becomes part of the culture in Derry, and it's going to be awesome.
949 says Fletch is going to watch Monsters Ball today.
No, I've seen that movie. Halle Berry, come on now. Billy Bob Thornton, right?
Yeah,
good flick. And then the new Game of Thrones show has been confirmed coming out in 2026. It's called The Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
I got to be honest, I've never seen Game of Thrones.
That is insanity. I know during the NFL season we have a little bit less time to watch, but as soon as it's over and the Chiefs lose another Super Bowl, you should watch Game of Thrones all the way through.
Text line's going crazy with the Halle Berry stuff.
But A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the first pictures that we've gotten from the show, there's color in the countryside. And if you watched any of Game of Thrones, there's no color in that show outside of the times where they're actually in King's Landing. So kind of cool.
Tyler, yes, we are going to get an NBA season-long thing lineup on Tuesday. We will definitely be tapped into that. The text line is fantastic. I don't know if we can read some of these texts.
Probably not.
Fantastic.
We're out of here. Jimbo coming up next. We'll see you tomorrow.